Well, the bullpen woes continue as the Colorado Rockies lose to the St. Louis Cardinals by a final score of 8-5. We'll break it all down on tonight's episode of your Locked On Rockies POSTCAST. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rockies POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is the Locked On Rockies POSTCAST right here on Locked On Sports, your team every day. Hope everybody is doing all right out there. It was another disappointing game for the Colorado Rockies, unable to seize momentum from their series opening victory last night against the St. Louis Cardinals in a game that involved a lot of small ball, timely hitting, only 4 hits for the Rockies in that season, or in that series opener game, rather, 4 hits, as I just said, and like I said, unable to carry that momentum over as they fall tonight to the St. Louis Cardinals by a final score of 8-5. And stop me if you've heard this before, the bullpen. And look, I know the Rockies offense wasn't exactly lighting it up tonight. 4 of their 5 runs came on a singular play with a fantastic Little League grand slam, or an inside. It is a grand slam. I was thinking it was an inside the park home run, but since there was a throwing error, we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program. But all in all, just not a great showing tonight from the Rockies across the board, I would say, but in particular from the bullpen. So I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And tonight's episode of the Locked On Rockies POSTCAST is presented by our friends over at FanDuel. As you're going to want to get your bets in with FanDuel's, folks, because make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And like I said, folks, maybe you want to bet against the Rockies with how these games are going lately, but however you want to bet it, whether it's straight bets, whether it's parlays, whether it's player props, be sure to get your money down over at FanDuel. But yeah, let's dive right into it here, folks, as I guess we'll start from the ending and work our way back. I want to dive into Austin Gomber's start today as well, because he got off to a rough start in the first and the second innings, but did a good job of buckling down as the game went along. But as I said, the bullpen once again blowing a game for the Colorado Rockies. We had this game tied up at 5-5 going into the 8th inning, and we finished with a final score of 8-5, simply because of a disastrous 8th inning for that Rockies bullpen. Again, Austin Gomber actually came out of this game with a lead. The Rockies were up 5-4 at one point in this game, before things just continued to spiral out of control for this club as the game went along. So let's take a look in particular at that bottom of the 8th inning, where everything went astray for the Colorado Rockies. And if you're a baseball fan, right, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, listen up, because this is cardinal sin number 1 that you do not want to commit in baseball, specifically later on in games: a leadoff walk. And Matt Carasetti was the starting pitcher, or the relief pitcher who started the 8th inning. He walks Nolan Gorman off the top in the 8th inning. And again, what was a tight ball game at that point, just a recipe for disaster. So a leadoff walk to Nolan Gorman, which is then followed up by Ivan Herrera, who hits a single to left field. And like I said, we were actually tied up at 5-5 at this point in the game. From there, Matt Carpenter, sharp line drive to Michael Toglia, who had a phenomenal game. We'll talk about Mr. Toglia a lot throughout tonight's show here on the Locked On Rockies POSTCAST. It looked like a potential game-saving play at one point there in the bottom of the 8th inning from Mr. Toglia. But then Brendan Donovan singles on a line drive to center field, and the St. Louis Cardinals get that go-ahead run. They find themselves up there 6-5. So you're sitting there, all right, you give up a run there in the 8th inning. You're only down 1, though. Can you limit the damage? Can you limit the bleeding, right? Because here's the thing. If you're down 1 run going into the 9th inning, obviously, look, it's not an easy thing to score runs whatsoever, especially if you're the Colorado Rockies, but a 1-run deficit is certainly a lot easier to maneuver around than a 3-run deficit. But they just continued to pile them on, did the St. Louis Cardinals. Dylan Carlson adds a double to right field. Ivan Herrera scores. Brendan Donovan scores as well, and that gets us to the final score of the game at 8-5. So the Rockies eventually get out of the inning, but too little, too late for this club, as like I said, it just spoils what I don't want to say it was a good game for the Rockies. Like, I don't think the Rockies deserved to win this game. A couple of injuries. Brendan Rodgers leaves this game with an injury. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. Caracetti actually ended up leaving the game as well with a blister on his finger. And, it's just par for the course at this point for the Colorado Rockies. So a disappointing outcome, to say the least, as, the bullpen, the woes just continue. And let's take a look here at the box score with those relief pitchers in particular here, so we could break it down. And we'll spend a majority of the second segment on tonight's episode of the Locked On Rockies postcast talking about Austin Gomber and his start, because I ended the show yesterday outside of my little Chris Bryant tangent that I went on. By the way, if you want to follow us on social media, do so at Mile High Sports, and I'm at Media by AP. I ended up clipping that little tangent, put some graphics up, put some captions up, and all that good stuff. So if you want to see that rant in social media format, be sure to check us out, Mile High Sports, on social. But the Rockies bullpen was actually looking all right there for a minute, because Anthony Molina comes in and gives you 2 solid innings of work. He does give up 1 earned run, and that's when everything starts to boil over here for the Rockies. But he goes 2 innings, gives up 3 hits, 1 earned run, and 1 strikeout for Anthony Molina. His ERA has now ballooned all the way up to 7.54, which is just, look at the earned run averages for these Rockies relief pitchers. Anthony Molina at 7.54. Matt Caracetti, after the disastrous outing tonight, his ERA is all the way up now to 10.38. An ERA of 7.54 is no good for Anthony Molina. An ERA of 5.19, which is what Rodgers has, who is the final pitcher of the game for the Rockies here tonight. An ERA over 5 for Josh Rodgers is not good. And Matt Caracetti's ERA is essentially double that. So just an unfortunate performance tonight from the Rockies bullpen. And look, let's not, pass complete. Let's not skip over Austin Gomber either, because the Rockies found themselves in quite a bit of a hole early on in this game. And without pulling it up, actually, I will pull it up because now I'm curious. I believe I heard on the broadcast tonight, NL batting stats. We're doing it live in the words of Mr. Bill O'Reilly here. I believe the St. Louis Cardinals have scored the second fewest runs in the National League. Let me see if I can confirm that here real quick for you guys. So, I know that historically, right, the St. Louis Cardinals are a team, 244 runs. And I'm not sure if this is the live update after tonight's game, but the St. Louis Cardinals ahead of only the Miami Marlins in runs scored this season. Miami has only 230 runs scored. Wow, Miami. Get ready for these Rockies Marlins series. These postcasts are going to be fun when we get to that point. But the Rockies at 257, again, I'm not sure if that's the fully updated number following the games here tonight. But, this is not the St. Louis Cardinals of old. I know they have some names. They've got Nolan Arenado. They've got Paul Goldschmidt, among some other guys. But they have been struggling collectively, have the Cardinals offensively. And so Gomber gets off to a rough start, but the bullpen, in my opinion, is just the major takeaway here, because they cost the Rockies this game. It was tied up late. You put yourself in a position to win the game. The Rockies at one point, after that Little League grand slam from Michael Toglia and then an RBI in the following inning, it felt like momentum had actually kind of shifted over to the Rockies. But unfortunately, they were unable to do anything with it, as, you can only do so much, right? And again, scoring 5 runs, sometimes it's good enough to win a game, sometimes it's not. Last night, the Rockies scored, 4 runs, and that was good enough off 4 hits. And, that was just not it tonight. The Rockies ended up with 10 base hits on their own, St. Louis with 12, and the Cardinals also committed 2 errors in this game. But again, just a frustrating night at the office, because in part because of that bullpen. But let's take a look at this Rockies lineup as well. Charlie Blackmon as the designated hitter, hitting leadoff tonight. He gets a couple of base hits. Tovar 0 for 5 tonight with 3 strikeouts. So you don't like to see that. He's now hitting 284 on the year. He's actually been struggling. I believe he went 0 for last night as well. And I also believe he struggled at the end of that Dodgers series, if memory serves me correctly here. So not good stuff out of Ezequiel Tovar. Ryan McMahon with a base knock tonight. Elias Diaz draws a walk. He also has a base hit. Brendan Rodgers, who we mentioned, leaves the game early. He had, where am I? Yeah, he also had a hit. And then Alan Trejo, who actually replaced Brendan Rodgers in this game, at second base, excuse me. He had an RBI, which ultimately gave the Rockies their 5th and final run. But from there, Montero tonight, 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Jake Cave, who got yanked in the middle of the game, 0 for 2 tonight. Where is he? Yeah, 0 for 1 tonight, excuse me. Or no, he had 2 walks. So he had 2. I always forget how they kind of track that, excuse me. So Jake Cave, but bottom line here is, and Toglia, who is batting ninth there, ends up batting 2 hits of his own. He's hitting 148 in his return to the big leagues. But, just not enough consistency from this Rockies offense tonight in tandem with just the overall struggles of the bullpen that continues to plague this team over and over again. So we'll see what happens. You got a game tomorrow in the afternoon. So for all of you listening out there, it'll be a 2:15 first pitch Mountain Time here in the Mile High City. Of course, the Rockies being on the road playing in St. Louis, but that's what we're going to be dealing with tomorrow. We'll see if they can bounce back. But, you never know with this team, man. I was actually feeling pretty good at some points throughout this game. Like I said, it felt like momentum had carried over for them, and then it all just, and it's gone. You ever seen that South Park episode? Like when they're talking about like investing your money, like, okay, yeah, like we'll just put this money in here. We'll transfer it there. You'll get this, blah, blah, and it's gone. That's how 90% of these Rockies games feel when they have a lead or they have momentum. It just feels like it's inevitable. And I know I did the FanDuel read, and we're going to do it again here in just a minute. What were the live odds? I should have been tracking that. What were the live odds on the St. Louis Cardinals on the money line to win this game? Because I'm sure it was a pretty nice plus number that you folks could have got in on. And I'm not advocating for betting against the Rockies. I know 90% of you that are probably listening to this show are diehard Rockies fans, so you don't want to bet against your own team, but just food for thought moving forward here. So let's hit a quick break, though. When we come back, I do want to dive into Austin Gomber's start, and let's also talk about Mr. Toglia, who's just had a phenomenal return to the big leagues over the last couple of days. All that and more when we come back right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel real quick, my friends, because it's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Let me say that again. Right now, like today, I know that, the Rockies are no longer playing, but you can use this tomorrow. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Final going on as well. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, totals, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com to look at odds and be sure to get in on the action with our friends over at FanDuel, folks, because I'm an active FanDuel user. NFL season, I'm on FanDuel every day. I'm waking up Sunday morning, Saturday night. Friday, I put my NFL bets in sometimes on Thursday nights, not just for the Thursday night game, but for the Sunday games. I'm going to be doing some stuff, hopefully, with Locked On come football season. We'll dive into the bets there, but football, basketball, hockey. There was a major upset this week in cricket. The Euro Cup is starting up next week. We've got the U.S. Open. I mean, there's just so many different sporting events going on. And if you want to get some action on these games and these events, folks, there's no better place to do it than with FanDuel Sportsbook. So be sure to check them out. FanDuel.com/lockedon is the place to go. Tell them Locked On Rockies postcast sent you. And away we go. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. Hope you guys are hanging in there after a tough 8-5 loss for the Colorado Rockies going up against the St. Louis Cardinals. And I forget the number off the top of my head, but I want to say the Rockies record for their franchise's history in St. Louis, not just at the new Busch Stadium, but the old one as well. I believe they have like 35-ish wins to 75-ish losses. So this has historically been a very, very tough place for the Rockies to play on a consistent basis. But like I said, they got the win in the first game of the series. Let's see, we thought maybe there was some momentum to carry over from that. That was not the case. Let's see what they got in store for us tomorrow. But let's dive into starting pitcher Austin Gomber's performance, because he's been one of the better pitchers for the Rockies collectively this season. And look, I know he got shelled his last time out against the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? But kind of a revenge spot going up against the team that traded him away. Remember, Austin Gomber and Elevis Montero were the two centerpieces in that trade that sent Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals. Also, how crazy is it? The St. Louis Cardinals are 30-32. I don't think Nolan Arenado thought that when he would be traded to St. Louis, that he'd be playing for a team that was only 8 games better than his previous franchise. And look, I don't know why everything turned sour with Nolan. I mean, I guess I have some sort of an idea. This is a guy who's hyper competitive and wants to win. And I think as we've all kind of seen here, the Rockies front office and just their organizational direction as a whole can be a little bit frustrating. But I don't think Nolan Arenado, the Cardinals have not been good I think Nolan's only made the playoffs, I want to say, one time with the St. Louis Cardinals. I believe this is his 4th year in St. Louis as well. So I just did not expect that. And especially for a team that has Nolan Arenado and has Paul Goldschmidt and has some of these other good guys, they just have not been able to put it together. But as it pertains to the Rockies, Austin Gomber tonight, his final stat line, he has 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts, bumping his ERA up to 3.38, which is not bad whatsoever, especially for the Rockies. But, they noted it on the TV broadcast and also the radio broadcast. And also, let me say this, shout out to Thomas Harding. I love when I hop in the car and Mr. MLB.com himself, Thomas Harding, is on the radio call. If you guys have not read Thomas's work, I know you have if you're a Rockies fan. There is nobody better at covering and talking about this team than the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Thomas Harding. So shout out to Thomas, man. He was great on the radio broadcast tonight, adding just, I love Jerry and I love, I love the traditional radio broadcast crew, and Jack and all those guys, but Thomas just adds a different layer to it. And I'm a Thomas Harding guy, so shout out to Thomas. But, what I was going to say is they noted on the broadcast that with Austin Gomber in particular, his struggles in his starts come early, which is not typically the case for a starting pitcher. Usually starting pitchers, for the most part, are able to get out to pretty decent starts and ride some momentum. And you've definitely heard this before if you're a baseball fan, 3rd time through the lineup, right? After these guys get 1 shot, 2 shot, the 3rd time through the lineup, the fastball starts to look the same. The curveball starts to look the same, all that kind of stuff. And I shouldn't say looks the same, but the hitters rather are able to pick up on it a little bit easier. And it's kind of the inverse here for Austin Gomber, which has been frustrating for the Rockies, because if they can just figure out a way to, lock him in at the start of games, I mean, they're going to have an opportunity to win darn near every game that he starts for this team. But the first inning woes continued for him. Mason Wynn led off the game in the bottom of the first inning with a double to left field. Alec Burleson then followed it up with a single to center field, which got Mason Wynn to third base. So you got runners on the corners with no outs to open up the game. And then the first run of the game for St. Louis comes on a weak single to third baseman Ryan McMahon off the bat of Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, just kind of like one of those, like Paul Goldschmidt, did not make good contact with this ball, and it just dribbles down the third baseline, halfway, down the line, forces Ryan McMahon to come up and make the charging on the move throw, the patented Nolan Arenado move, in which we've seen time and time again. And let me say this, I don't think Nolan Arenado is making that play either, but that's how the Rockies, or the Cardinals rather, get their first run of the game, is on a weak single from Paul Goldschmidt that gets Mason Wynn, who's the leadoff hitter, so he's got some speed. It gets him home and, just gets the party started, for lack of a better phrase, for the St. Louis Cardinals. And then Gomber proceeds to throw a wild pitch, which moves some of the runners up. Nolan Arenado, old pal, then hit a sacrifice fly. Burleson scores. Cardinals find themselves up 2-0. So already, off the bat here, in a pretty deep, not a deep hole, but in a hole nonetheless, are the Rockies after, just 3 or 4 batters into the game. So not good there. And then, as we said, the Cardinals have that 2-0 lead. And then Nolan Gorman from there hits a single to center field, scoring Paul Goldschmidt at the end of the first inning. Just like that, the tie ball game is gone, and the St. Louis Cardinals find themselves up with a 3-run lead, 3-0. And then they managed to add another run there in the second inning. Stop me if you've heard this before. What did I talk about when I started this show? A leadoff walk is absolutely killer for any team, any starting pitcher, any pitcher, starter, reliever, whatever it might be. And Austin Gomber walks Mason Wynn. Or it wasn't a leadoff walk, excuse me. He actually ended up getting 2 outs. Mason Wynn walks with 2 outs, and the walk is just never a good thing. It's a recipe for disaster. But the 2-out walk comes back to bite him. Alec Burleson then hits another single. He advances Wynn to third. So there you are once again with runners on the corner. And then Paul Goldschmidt delivers again with a single, scoring Mason Wynn. And the St. Louis Cardinals then find themselves up 4-0. But you could even see it on the rundown on the top. Would that be your right corner if you're watching this live, I believe? Gomber, he struggled in the beginning, but he really did settle in as the rest of the game went along. I believe he finishes with right around 90 pitches, but he retired 10 straight St. Louis Cardinals en route to finishing out his start. So it was those first 2 innings that were just absolutely brutal for Austin Gomber. So if the Rockies are going to, if they can figure out a way to get this guy on track out of the gate to start these games, they're going to set themselves up with an opportunity to win a lot of these games. Because if Austin Gomber, if he's able to limit the damage, right, not giving up 3 runs, maybe you give up a run in the first inning. They get the insurance run the Cardinals do in the second inning. Maybe that doesn't happen, right? If it's 1-0, 2-0, you feel a lot better about your chances. And look, you got to give credit. The Rockies fought. We'll talk about Toglia here coming up in the next segment with the Little League Grand Slam. But when you put yourselves in these holes consistently and put yourselves in these holes early, you're only going to make your job and your life that much more difficult to try to win these games. So all in all, hot and cold start from Austin Gomber. Starts cold, finishes hot, as we said, with the 10 consecutive St. Louis Cardinals retired at the end of his start there. So once again, his pitching line, 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Austin Gomber's ERA now sitting at where did you go? 3.38 on the season. So again, body of work this season, not bad, but 2 kind of shaky starts in a row. Once against the Dodgers and now tonight against the St. Louis Cardinals. So between Gomber, the starting pitching as a whole, and the bullpen, it's been the same problem for the Rockies for 30 years. They've got to figure out a way to get that consistent. And tonight, both of those, I think, played a role in them losing the game tonight. But all right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we'll put a bow on the show. We'll do our 3 strikes. I'll give you my 2 big takeaways from tonight's game. And then we'll also take a look to tomorrow's game. We've got an interesting pitching matchup on the mound. Again, a 2:15 Mountain Time start. So let's hit a break. We'll come back. We'll do just that right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. All right, and before we continue along with the program, let me tell you about our friends over at Stitch Fix. So be sure to listen up to this one, guys, because you're going to want to hear this. You know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? I mean, really good. That's what I get with Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, your size, and your budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. Easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new and on-trend favorites that will work just for you. I just give my stylist my size, my style, and my budget, and I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscriptions required. You got to love that, man. In the era of subscriptions, no subscriptions required with our friends over here at Stitch Fix. They send me 5 just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. I keep what works and I send back the rest. It's as easy as that, guys. My stylist always sends me just right pieces, and the fit is always on point. It's like they have their styling degree. I don't know how they do it, but they just get me so well. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. I don't like to shop. I know some of you out there don't either, and they save me that time and effort. Plus, I get outfits that make me look good and feel really good. And if I don't love something, the best part is, guys, I just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free with our friends over at Stitch Fix. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $20 off. And be sure to check them out. stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of signing up. And I always say this at the end of my Stitch Fix reads. The Denver fellas, look, I know I'm wearing a basic white t-shirt right now, but I'm also in the comfort of my own home. It is summertime. You need some new shorts. You need some new jeans. You need some new collared shirts. I love the t-shirt, jeans, and hat combo as much as anybody. But pop out. Get fresh. Look good, feel good, play good. You're going to get out there in Lodo. You're going to be in Rhino. If you're in the Springs, if you're up in Fort Collins, they're going to take care of you. StitchFix.com. A good outfit takes you a long way, folks. Be sure to check them out and let them know that Locked On MLB sent ya. All right, wrapping up here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. Be sure to follow me on social at Media by AP. A disappointing loss tonight for the Rockies as they lose 8-5 in the second game of the series with the St. Louis Cardinals. But we have not talked about it. Let's spend some time on Mr. Michael Toglia here real quick because he continues to stay hot. He made some great defensive plays yesterday, clutch hitting yesterday as well. But tonight, the play of the game for either team, a Little League Grand Slam. I thought it was an inside the park home run. I don't know the last time that I've seen one of these, whether it was in person or on the broadcast like we saw here tonight, but bases loaded. Toglia is up to bat. and he rips one down as my hair is just flying all over the place. I apologize here, folks. As I like to say, I'm entering my Pauly D era. I think I've got to go ahead and get a haircut here at some point. But Toglia tonight with the bases juiced rips one down the right field line. So the bases are loaded. Runner from third scores. Runner from second is going to score. Runner from first is going to make his way all the way around as well. But in a throwing error from the right fielder sails to the left of Nolan Arenado. That ball rolls all the way to the backstop, and Michael Toglia finds himself with it's not an inside the park home run by a technicality, but a Little League grand slam. 4 of the Rockies' 5 runs tonight coming on that singular play. So shout out to Michael Toglia. He's been hot for this team. 2 base hits tonight, 3 RBI on the evening as well. He did strike out 1 time, but at the end of the day, he put the Rockies offense on his back. So if you haven't go to the Mile High Sports social media channel at Mile High Sports, we got the video of the Little League Grand Slam up over there. But 2 thumbs up for Mr. Toglia tonight, as a pretty impressive performance from him to get the 3 runners home, but then to score on his own from that throwing error from St. Louis. You love to see that. So shout out to Michael Toglia. A good game for him tonight. And then just to kind of rehash it, man, Austin Gomber starting out really, really bad, gives up 4 runs in the first 2 innings, but really then settles into a nice groove, recording 10 consecutive outs. And it's a shame because I think he threw close to 90 pitches in this game. They really needed one more inning out of Austin Gomber. And I know there was some discussion, there was some hesitation. Do we throw him out there? Do we not throw him out there? They end up yanking him after 5. He does his job, keeps the Rockies in the game. But then, as we said, the theme of the day, the theme of the show, the bullpen ends up, washing all of that away. All the hard work from Gomber and the offense and Toglia and company just gets absolutely washed away. So hopefully the Rockies are going to be able to figure out a way to get Gomber on track early in these games, because we know as the games have progressed, he's done a great job of settling into a groove. So we'll see what happens in Austin Gomber at his next start. But before we get out of here, as we said, tomorrow's game is at 2:15 Mountain Time. The Rockies and the Cardinals playing once again. It'll be Ryan Feltner on the mound. He's 1-5 with a 6.22 ERA, and he'll look to bounce back. He got shelled against Cincinnati in his last start. 4 1/3 innings pitched, 10 hits, 8 earned runs, 3 strikeouts for Ryan Feltner. He'll go up against Kyle Gibson of the St. Louis Cardinals, who's 4-2 with a 3.69 ERA this year. His last time out, he went 5 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs with 8 strikeouts against the Houston Astros. So it should be a good one on tap for tomorrow. Feltner, like I said, looking to bounce back. We know what Kyle Gibson's going to bring to the table with that 3.69 ERA and that 4-2 record so far this year. And Feltner, it's been bad, 1-5 with a 6.22, but in particular, shelled last time against the Cincinnati Reds. But that is going to do it for me, folks, on tonight's episode of the Locked On Rockies Postcast. Always appreciate you guys rocking with us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We just started this channel. It's a brand new venture between Locked On Sports and Mile High Sports. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. We'll be here after just about each and every Colorado Rockies game the rest of the way. Be sure to give me a follow as well on social media at Media by AP. But a disappointing loss tonight for the Colorado Rockies, 8-5. And we'll see what's in store for us tomorrow with that 2:15 first pitch as the series against the St. Louis Cardinals rolls on. Enjoy your Friday night, guys. I'm out. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.